Salute to Minister General Ahmad Abdul-Ibad. My name is Khalid, and I am the Minister of Defense of Sons of Africa. And I wanted to clarify some things that I expressed in a previous video in regards to human emotions and, such as anger, and why violence is not necessarily a negative thing. Okay. And first, I'm going to start with anger as an emotion and its expression. I'm reading from a book called Getting the Best of Your Anger by Les Carter, who is a PhD psychoanalyst or doctor of psychology. By expressing the anger that they feel towards someone or something, most people are standing up for themselves. They are trying to drive home the idea that they deserve to be treated correctly. Whether they express anger towards a family member, a stranger on the street, or the next door neighbor's dog, people are trying to express the conviction that they have some worth and that they want to be treated in a worthy manner. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? Anger is a way of saying, notice my needs. That's why it is usually expressed when a person feels ignored, put down, or unappreciated by another person or persons. When something happens that does not affirm their worth as humans, people are prone to being angry. From the illustration already given, it is evident that people can be made to feel insignificant even by inanimate objects. Have you ever kicked a vending machine that has eaten your money and given you nothing in return? Admittedly, anger is not always rational, but rational or not, when anger is used as an emotion that speaks up for personal needs, it indicates some real strength. And, I'm just going to jump ahead, to what is really significant about this for me. It says, sometimes it is hard to find this positive element in anger when the anger is coming from someone who seriously abuses this emotion. But it can be found. In fact, it can be sad to know a person who never becomes angry because that person likely feels that he is too worthless to speak up for himself. All right? Anger is an expression of our basic need as human beings to be affirmed and to be respected. All right? And I think that it's a very significant human emotion, okay? And, some other things that I wanted to touch on briefly here as well was the idea of violence and how, violence is an expression of our life force, right? The energy that's within us and where the word originates from. And I'm taking this from a book called Care of the Soul, all right? I think that the title is very significant, by Thomas More. Violence and the need for power. The word violence comes from the Latin word vis, meaning life force. Its very root suggests that violence, the thrust of life, is making itself visible. That in violence, the thrust of life is making itself visible. If that fundamental vitality is not present in the heart, it nevertheless seems to appear distorted by our repressions and compromises, our fears and our narcissistic manipulations. It would be a mistake to approach violence with any simple idea of getting rid of it. Chances are, if we try to eradicate our violence, we will also cut ourselves off from the deep power that sustains creative life. Besides, psychoanalysis teaches repression never accomplishes what we want. Okay? The significance of this for me is the fact that, our whole organization is based on the foundation of the life force in each and every human being and how we ought to increase and improve, that vitality within us. All right? That it's God the life force within every living thing is God. All right? And it is responsible for everything that we see in creation. It's responsible for this particular movement of African people. All right? And repression of the life force is, as a diagnosis, I believe, would fix most of the emotional problems people present in therapy. Renaissance doctors place both anger and life force under the aegis of one god, Mars. Mars is the god of war, right? All people, they taught, has an explosive force ready within them to be unleashed in the world. Simply being oneself, letting one's individuality and unique gifts come forth is a manifestation of life force, or Mars, the Martian power. When we allow ourselves to exist truly and fully, we sting the world with our vision and challenge it with our own way of being. All right. And Africans, are stinging the world with their unique way of being. Okay. We as a people are the mothers and fathers of the human race. The Aboriginal man, whether he's in Australia, or Africa or India or wherever you find him, all right, is the mother and father of the human race. All right. And if you don't honor your mother and your father on this earth, your days on the earth will not be long. I mean, that's what it says in the scripture, right? And as for hate, right, there are some things it says that God, the Lord of heaven's armies, hates. And I'm coming from Proverbs chapter 6, and I'll be reading from verse 16 to 19. It says, there are 6 things the Lord hates. No, 7 things he detests. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that kill the innocent, a heart that plots evil, and feet that race to do wrong, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who sows discords in a family. So, by saying that, I'm saying that, violence can be justified. All right? And not all violence is right, but violence in the defense of life, liberty, and justice is right and exact. And for those of you who want to run away from the struggle of our people and you want to run to peace and you talk about love, you can't love unless you're willing to fight, man, for justice. All right? You cannot love if you're not willing to fight for those who are oppressed and suppressed. All right? The least of these. All right? The least of these is who you're called to defend, who you're called to support. Okay? And don't try to avoid suffering, because you can't. And I'm going to come from another book, The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck, that deals with suffering in a simple way. It just says, life is difficult. There is a great truth. This is a great truth, one of the greatest truths. It is a great truth because once we truly see this truth, we transcend it. Once we truly know that life is difficult, once we truly understand and accept it, then life is no longer difficult, because once it is accepted, the fact that life is difficult no longer matters. And with that, right, I'm going to say power to the people, okay? And peace and love to the soul that's out there, all right? And